So welcome everyone. So we're looking today at preparing your Canvas class. And the purpose of this is to really just go over this handout. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I received quite a few questions at our convocation week about the different types of Canvas classes you might have. So I try to list the 6 types, and hopefully this demystifies it a little bit. So I'll start maybe with the least complicated, which are the ones on the bottom. So the first would be an ISP class, and our ISP program is our Incarcerated Students Program. As you know right now, it's 100% on paper. In fact, if you were on campus yesterday, which I was, Shane and his team have the whole art gallery full of, it's literally floor to floor, almost floor to ceiling. The entire floor is covered in packets. So what students do is they complete modules, quizzes, different written assignments, and that goes back and forth between the instructor and the student at the various correctional institutions. So right now, when I have Canvas on here for your ISP, there's one use, and it's only for your use. That would be to use the gradebook. And the reason for that is some of you know that the Canvas gradebook is a little more full-fledged than the Passport gradebook. So I say on here it's only for instructors. Your students cannot access the internet for an ISP class for obvious reasons. Now, the one exception to this might be in a few years, we're talking about there's a new juvenile facility down way on the southern border, almost at the edge of Mexico. And we're talking about using Canvas for that. If that happens, there'll be a big process, and Michael Miguel, our new DE instructor, or our new DE, he is a DE instructor, but he's our new DE coordinator, is coming on board here in mid-October. And I'm sure Michael and Amber and probably myself would be involved in working on any kind of Canvas instance that would be an intra-based or an intra sort of net version of it. In other words, the students would interact with the instructors, but the computers wouldn't have access to the internet. So if you're using this option, it's only for your own sake. You like the Canvas gradebook because your ISP students appear in that shell. You can just use, I do it all the time if I'm teaching ISP, I use the gradebook in Canvas. It's better than the Passport one. So that one is not really a true Canvas use because you're just taking advantage of the gradebook. So these 2 on the bottom would apply to those of you, including Solange, who's on the Zoom call today, who are teaching either DE or EVE. So obviously for a DE class in Canvas, everything's in there. I don't have to list everything, right? It has your syllabus, it has your links, it has any handouts, any media, any assignments, and so forth. And just to show you an example of that, because I've been revamping 2 brand new classes. One is not brand new, one is my cultural anthro, but the second one is this new music and sound class, which has been great so far. And so I've been building this out and creating a brand new structure. And so one of the things I want to do maybe in the future is have a workshop on your module structures and how you might do this. And this just kind of shows you what I've been working on and been madly trying to get this up and running. So the way I structure my classes is I have particular themes for the week. So for this week, they'll talk about music and sound. They'll talk about different types of musical instruments. Then they have all the readings listed, which they download. And then I go on to the various media. And so they can interact with all the media, kind of some fun websites and different videos, of course. And then any assignments would appear next, like discussions. So one of the things that I think is always useful when you're creating a DE class is to have a very regular structure. And I've kind of come up with this way, and I'll probably share it with you in a future workshop, because I discovered that if I do this for all my classes, it helps me, and I think it helps my students. I had a student contact me yesterday and say, oh, I really like the structure. It's very clear. You have the themes, you have the readings, the links, and the discussion. So there's like a predictability set up. But the basic thing about a DE class, of course, is that you're using Canvas in all its potentials. Of course, it's based on your needs. If you don't like to have films in your classes or websites like I do, you don't have to have those included. It's, of course, anything you would include in a face-to-face class, but done in the distance modality. Now, the thing about EVE, then, we say is everything. So you have your DE shell, but you add Zoom to it at some level. The degree to which you do Zoom, of course, depends on your schedule and how you want to work around your student schedule. Solange has asked in these workshops before about using Zoom in DE, and the truth is, I'm using Zoom this quarter in my DE class, but you'll want to note how I'm doing that. It's purely optional. So The reason for this is if a student takes a DE class, they have the expectation that the class is flexible. So what I say here is we have an optional Zoom, and they can use it to replace their week 1 open discussion. So what we'll do is we'll meet on Zoom. I'm doing it fairly late in the evening, thinking hopefully with my non-traditional students this will work if they're working 8 to 5. And I kind of suggest here what the focus will be for the week, and then we'll get together. If they attend the 45 minutes, then they'll be able to opt out of or get full credit of 15 points for the week 1 open discussion. I still require them to do their second discussion, which is a reading-based discussion to show that they've done the reading. The open one is literally anything that they can think of that relates to the themes or topics for that week. So the clarification here, if you have more questions, we can talk about this because I know it's a little confusing. Even with the Eve class, we've been asked because of COVID and work schedules to not require a specific time to have a makeup and that kind of stuff. It gets very confusing. So I'll let you know later this quarter. I plan to do one weekly Zoom with my cultural class and one with the sound and music class. The sound and music class I see as more relevant to doing the Eve because we're actually going to do it. I'm kind of using my new setup here, and I'm actually going to walk them through. So the week that we talk about musical instruments, I will show them musical instruments that I build. We'll talk about circuit bending and some other issues, working on creating your own stuff. So I really want that to be hands-on and using my Zoom cameras. For the cultural class, when I'm doing the Zoom, it's more working through broad issues and questions, and I probably won't need like my background and my stuff. It'll just be talking on Zoom. So those are like these 3 on the bottom, I think are the most they make the most sense to us because we're familiar with them. Again, a lot of us are doing DE or Eve classes. The ISP is just using the gradebook. Now, up at the top are the kind of specific scenario Canvas instances. And this probably is not going to apply to you if you're teaching DE or Eve. So really, these are primarily face-to-face classes. So let's talk about the first one. This is the basic Canvas class. So there's a stipulation in the contract because going back a few years, we negotiated for some money to develop new classes in the DE format such that the college could reuse these in the future for other instructors. So in the contract, it says every single class at the college must have a basic Canvas shell. Now, the one exception to that is if you have an ISP class, again, you're welcome to use it for your gradebook, but the college does not expect you to put your syllabus, to put a front page in your ISP shell for the simple reason that our students do not have access ever to your Canvas shell. You only have access, so thus you only, if you want to, can use it for your gradebook. In the future, if this changes, and I know there'll be a big announcement if it happens, that will change. And what will happen is your ISP class will probably be like a traditional DE Canvas class. You'll have syllabus homepage, links, assignments, probably videos that you and the students will interact with using that more enhanced approach that we talk about with Canvas. So if you're looking today to do your basic Canvas class, if you're teaching PE, and you want to fulfill the requirement of the contract, very easy to do. You just need really, I would say here, a syllabus and a home page. So let me show you an example of what that looks like. I just have this basic class here. It's just a blank class. When you first get to your login, and if you can't log in on your dashboard should list your current classes. So I have my cultural and my music class. And then I also have classes that I might be enrolled in as a student. You can always go to your courses tab here and look at every single course. If a class is completed, you typically can't, it just depends on the class, but it shouldn't let you add it if it's an old class. Like if you did it, I don't know, a year ago or something, it won't let you, you see it, if I click on it, it's not letting me add it to the star menu. The star menu means that it appears on your dashboard when you log in. So if you can't find any of those, I've been working with a few of you this week. Just let me know and I can help you get those. I have a way actually of going on and acting as you, as your Canvas instance, and then I can just like set that all up for you and customize it. But let's look at a unpublished class here that's just a shell. So when you first get your class, if you're teaching a particular PE class, you'll log on to Canvas through Passport, click on your dashboard, and then click on your class. This is what you see. It's completely blank. Again, what we're talking about doing here is just this basic Canvas class. This is only for meeting the requirement of the contract that says you have to have your syllabus and a shell available just in case. Like if students want to look at it, we just want to make sure that we have something there, particularly as we'll get through the future versions talking about a quarantine, what happens under a quarantine. So all you need to do this is click on your syllabus button, and then you're going to just upload you could upload as a document, or you could take your syllabus, and I'll just show you what that looks like. Sorry, I should have had this ready. Let me get all my windows are being blocked here let me get my fall classes folder. And let me just show you the syllabus I've been working on for this new class. So there's an easy way to do this. So this is just my Word document. And again, I'm not quite finished with it. I've been feverishly trying to finish this, hoping the class is going, and it is. So what I could do is just select all the text, and on my keyboard, I'm just hitting Command-C, and then I go into the window and hit Command-V. Now, one thing that really kind of annoys me about this, and I haven't found a good way to fix it, is even if you use the tool to remove formatting, I've noticed that sometimes the spacing looks a little bit weird. Just with the paragraph spacing. But I'm not too worried about that. If I just want to get this up here, I have my basic syllabus. I could go in and customize that. I like personally bolding things, just having my headings bolded. That's just kind of my thing. And let me show you what that looks like in the live class, because it's the same class, just as I've formatted that a little bit. So if I click on the syllabus tab, this is what it looks like, and I go in and I do my hyperlinks because this is a DE class. It's not face-to-face, so I want students to be able to click on things that could help them with the class. And that even includes down here some of the videos. And this all repeats in the module structure, so they can click off the syllabus and watch. You can see it's pretty comprehensive. I think it's going to be, when it's done, it's probably a 15-page syllabus, but they have a lot of readings and a lot of different videos and cool links they can click on for interactive musical and sound stuff. So that's really what we're asking you to do for your basic class, just to go back to this test shell, is have your syllabus uploaded, and you'll see it here. And then the second thing you'll want to do is set your front page, just so that the students have something they see. Otherwise, they're going to come to your class and it's just going to be blank. So you'll click on the Choose Home page, and I would recommend you choose the syllabus. I just think for the purpose of your class, you want the basic Canvas class, just click that. I'll show you a second way of doing this, but we'll hit Save, and then the syllabus will now appear. And when I go to Student View, they're going to see this when they log on. That's the syllabus. So really, I'm suggesting, until we hear otherwise, that if you're doing the basic class, you're teaching basketball, intro-level basketball, you put your syllabus up here, and that's really all you have to do. The students may go and log on to your class. You will see under the People tab, this class is blank. Of course, it doesn't have students. You'll see all your students listed. So again, like with that ISP scenario, if you want to use your gradebook inside of Canvas, because that's the easiest way to do things rather than a spreadsheet, or rather than using something like your Passport gradebook, then you're certainly welcome to do that. The other thing you can do is, if you want to make it a little fancier, one of the things I like to do in my classes on the home page is create a graphic of some sort that just tells students what to do when they first log on. So to begin the class, click on Getting Started, and then move on to Week 1 module. And I also list the modules here. Some of you have fancier buttons. I should probably put some buttons here to make it look a little better, but that's totally up to you. So the sense of the basic Canvas class, to have that set up, again, we're just really asking that you have your syllabus and that you set your front page. Now, as we move on to the other possibilities, you can add more to this. So we're not saying for your basic class that you only should have a syllabus and your homepage set. You can add more as you need. So we move on to what we call the Enhanced Canvas class. So the Enhanced Canvas class started a couple years back. Treva started to recommend to face-to-face instructors. Again, these top I should have on here, these are all face-to-face. These are not DE or Eve. These are only face-to-face. I should update the graphic. But years ago, Treva said it's a great idea if you're teaching a face-to-face class to enhance that class with Canvas. I started doing this about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was for practical reasons. The two things I added to my enhanced face-to-face class with the Canvas shell, I added handouts and I added assignments, specifically quizzes. My reason for this was I didn't want to waste a lot of paper. I didn't want to, give a bunch of handouts in class and say, there's 30 students in a class. I have, hundreds of pages of paper. That's pretty wasteful and it's not very ecologically sound. So as a result, I said, you're going to get a handout for this topic in anthropology, but you need to log on to Canvas, click on the files or the modules, wherever I put those, and then you can read it there as a PDF. And the cool thing about this, when Trevor was recommending this and I was recommending this, was it really got some of our students used to Canvas. These are face-to-face students who maybe said, I'll never take a DE class, and lo and behold, because they did an enhanced face-to-face class with the Canvas shell, they started to poke around, they did their quizzes on there, they looked at their handouts, and they said, I can do this. It's not that bad. Canvas is pretty easy to use. So it kind of acclimated face-to-face students to DE, which, as we saw over the last 2 years, was so necessary because we were closed for so long. Now, the second thing I do in my face-to-face with Canvas enhancement is I include quizzes and tests. And the reason for this is practical. I don't necessarily want to take 2 or 3 class periods and lose those proctoring an exam or a set of quizzes when I can have the students do it on their Canvas shell at home. The only disadvantage, like if you're teaching math or science where you don't want open book work or notes being used, is you can't proctor that. But for me, that's okay. For my classes, online or face-to-face, they can do open book tests. I don't care about having them memorize a bunch of facts. I think some of that is kind of not great for teaching anyway. So what I would say for the Enhanced Canvas class, and this could apply to your basic class, if you're teaching basketball or golf or whatever, and you want to include some handouts that you don't want to pass out in class, that's great. If you have an exam or a paper, the easy thing to do is why have them turn in physical papers to you in the classroom when you can enhance your Canvas class and have them turn those in via Canvas. So with the basic class, you can bring in any of these elements for what we call the enhanced class as needed. So for your style, if you want a bunch of links, if you want media, films for students to watch, include that. It's totally up to you. So that's the enhanced Canvas class. The last one is new and it hasn't happened before. It's called a quarantine Canvas class. What'll happen is if a quarantine takes place, the dean will notify you, and I don't know the procedures. I don't know how they're doing contact testing or tracing. If someone in your class comes down with COVID and they're concerned, even with masks being worn, they're concerned about spreading the virus, I've heard they may quarantine a class for, say, up to 2 weeks. What'll happen is things will happen very quickly. Yeah, I'm guessing here. What they'll say is, hey, your class was just quarantined. You're not going to meet face-to-face for 2 weeks. You're going to now meet on Canvas. So the trick will be taking your basic Canvas class. What we said here in Canvas was your class that has a syllabus and a home page when you log on, and that's it. You will then have to, once the quarantine is declared, go back and add all of this stuff. Essentially, for a period of, let's say, 2 weeks or however long the quarantine is, you will have to have everything going in that class. So in addition to your syllabus and your home page, you're doing quizzes maybe. You'll have to add your quizzes. Maybe you will have handouts to add, and of course discussions or optional Zoom sessions like I'm doing. So this one will be the trickiest because we don't know when it'll happen. It'll be unpredictable. And when it does happen, we'll just have to be prepared to kind of jump in. And I certainly would be involved in that. Michael Miguel, our new DE coordinator, would be involved in that as well, helping you. So for this one, if and when it happens, we'll just have to adapt as instructors, as coordinators, and help you work through all that because we simply don't know what's going to happen, how long it might happen for, and we do know what you would need. Basically, whatever stuff would happen in your normal face-to-face class, when you're quarantined on DE on Canvas, you'll need to add that into your class. Presumably then, the college would say, okay, the quarantine for your class ends on October 1st, you'll go back to face-to-face. Once you go back to face-to-face, you will not have to continue to update, other than maybe your grades if you're doing your grades in there. But unless there's another quarantine declared, you wouldn't have to continue to do a lot of stuff on Canvas, because we know you're teaching a face-to-face class and you want to take advantage of doing that in the face-to-face modality. So those are the scenarios. Again, I just wanted to lay these out for those of you who couldn't attend today, and we'll have some questions here as well. But the scenarios on the bottom, or the Canvas uses on the bottom, are very common: the ISP, the EVE, and the DE. The top are only face-to-face. So the basic class that everybody has to have, the enhanced, which is adapting your class for more of that online interactive need of students, even though you're face-to-face. You want to save on paper, do your handouts via Canvas, do your assignments, paper turn-ins, quizzes to save class time. The last one is the one we don't know about, because hopefully, knock on wood, it doesn't happen if we have to quarantine your class. So those are the scenarios, and I think if you have questions, to reach out. Go ahead, Solange.
Okay. The question is, the basic Canvas class and the enhanced Canvas class, does the administration tell us which we're doing, or do we as the instructors get to decide which one we're doing?
It's pretty straightforward. So if you're doing like us, if you're doing DE or EVE, then you have your full-fledged Canvas class. These are really classes that would be, I'm trying to think of examples, classes that are always taught face-to-face that have a lab component, because when we say we want every class across the college to have a basic shell, like with my class right here, of course, if I log into my cultural anthro class, this has a basic Canvas shell, but it's more than basic. It's my entire class. So if you're teaching DE, you've done this. You've done this basic Canvas class and then some, right? Because you have all of your components built in. So this is more geared at classes like golf, or a biology class that is only taught face-to-face, where you just have your syllabus up there and your home page. The enhanced Canvas class would be the same, a bio class or a basketball class or an art class, but you want to include a few more things because you like your students to watch videos outside of class, even though you're working face-to-face. Particularly like if you don't want to spend a 2-hour class watching a long film, you could say, well, I want you to watch this film on YouTube, but go to your Canvas shell, and that's why we call it enhanced, because even though you're teaching face-to-face, you're enhancing with a couple of elements that help you outside the class with your students. So every class at the college, when you log on, has a Canvas shell. We're just saying for the classes that aren't DE or aren't EVE, that you go in there and put your syllabus and set your home page, basically. So it's really determined, Solange, by whether you're teaching face-to-face or not. If you're teaching DE, like in your case, you're well beyond the basic Canvas class. You have a full-fledged class, so you meet that requirement 100 times over, right? Because you have everything built into your class. It's not just the syllabus and the homepage. If that makes sense.
Yeah, my spring class, spring of 2022, will be a live class. I would like to make it enhanced.
Okay.
Now the question is, does the administration tell us if it's basic or enhanced, or can I make it enhanced?
It's 100% your call. The administration will never say, Solange, for your face-to-face audio class or video class, we need you to have media in there. They're never going to say that. As long as you have the syllabus and the homepage, you're fine. So really, it's like what I say here, it's based on your teaching needs. So what I would recommend is, decide ahead of time, like if you know you don't want to do a lot of in-class assignments, shuffling paper, collecting stuff from your students, then I would just go in like you would in a DE class, as you know about, and create all of your assignments. This is not a good one for papers, because all their writing is going to be on discussions, but they do have project proposals. So this is an example of if I were teaching this in a face-to-face version, they would turn in a piece of paper to me. This is so much easier. They simply go in and they put in their project proposals, and then they have to discuss their project proposals. So what I would say to you is I would think about what are the most important things you want in there. You know, for me, when I'm teaching a face-to-face class, I actually want to include some media because I really want students to watch particular videos. So I would say, like if this is a little demo I have for my students who, and I should say the students that take this class, I say you do not need any sound or music background. But if you have it, that's great. But if you don't, you can click on some of these fun, sound generators and kind of play around with stuff. I don't know if this is working, but maybe it is. I don't even know what this does. I just found this. Okay, just a bunch of bells. Okay. So anyway, this is the kind of thing that if I was teaching a face-to-face class, I often will demo stuff if I have a smart classroom, and I'll project it on the screen and if there's sound playing. But if I don't have time to do that in my face-to-face, I would say, hey, students, go home and click on week 1 and click on the Chrome Music Lab experiments to get your feet wet a little bit with some of the apps they have set up. So the short answer to the question is it's all based on your teaching expertise, what you want to do. If you really want to do a lot of media that you don't have time for in the class, I would enhance your class, have a media link for each week. Or if you have mini quizzes, and like me, you don't want to waste a half an hour or an hour of valuable class time doing quizzes, tell your students you'll do your quizzes on Canvas. And I should say I switched over to this approach, the enhanced approach, for my face-to-face 3, maybe 4 years ago, because I thought, why am I giving if I'm teaching a section of Social 101 and the DE section is open book, and then I go to the face-to-face section and I do proctored exams or quizzes in class, that seems kind of weird. Like, why would I not do it in the other one? And I've talked to some colleagues on campus and they said they're doing more and more of this where they do all their assignments inside of Canvas, even though they're teaching a face-to-face class. So I'm thinking, Solange, maybe to think about what kinds of grading are you going to do, and then base it on that. Like if you're doing a lot of interactive media and things they have to work with online, maybe you set that all up on Canvas and you use your in-class time for tutorials and workshopping and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. It sounds exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That would be a perfect idea.
Great. And yeah, the truth of it is no one will ever tell you. No one will say you should include this in the enhanced class or you shouldn't. It's 100% up to you. So you have total freedom, and it's always been that way. The administration is not, they're really good about not micromanaging and saying, Scott, you need to have videos in your class. They're never going to say that. So that's the good news. The one that worries me, the only one on this page, is the quarantine class, because the other stuff we're prepared to do. We're doing it now. But if it's a quarantine class, all bets are off. And I would say there'll be a lot of, not hand-holding, but people helping you. If your class gets quarantined, we're going to jump in and help you set things up on Canvas. And I'm thinking maybe even, we could create some templates to help you out to have your structure going so that you're ready to run with it if the quarantine's declared. So, but yeah, the enhanced face-to-face I think is great. It's really one of those opportunities to get our students used to what's going on in Canvas. The other thing you can use it for is in our traditional Canvas classes, like in my, let me just show you how, I think this one might be a good one to have for discussions, just to show you what it looks like. So for my week 1 discussions, well, they do, for example, this is just an introduction. And by the way, I'm using, if you notice my discussions look a little bit different, there actually is a new beta in Canvas. If any of you want this, I can help you enable it. I'll just show you how it works here because it's kind of cool. And actually, Solange in our last teaching talk asked about announcements. And we had some questions about what do announcements do and how to use them. And I'm using announcements like as a new teaching tool this quarter because I'm trying out this new beta. I'm really trying to see if my announcements can be more interactive. And as an example of that, yesterday I said, I'm just doing kind of random things. I'm like, hey, I just discovered this World Radio Garden. And I said, click on here, try this out, and you can listen to radio stations all over the world. Because one of the things we're doing in this class is looking at the diversity of musical forms across the world.
Ultimate summer can't be defined by just one.
And of course, an ad comes on. But anyway, let me show you what the new announcements and discussion tool looks like. You would want to click on your settings tab, and you probably have never clicked on this. It's called feature previews. These are for beta versions or things coming up on your Canvas. And if you don't have access to this, let me know. I think you should. But you'll see right down here, discussions, announcements, redesign beta. And as you know, a beta is a test version of a future Canvas enhancement that will happen. So a beta version is kind of like the test before it actually goes live. If you've ever beta tested software, you can get access to software to look for the bugs and help the developers work out some of those bugs before it goes live. So as you see here, it enhances the Canvas experience within discussions and announcements. So if you click on it, you're going to get different discussion luck and a different announcements luck. So as you can see under announcements, more so when you click on these, they look a little bit different with the header here, and they have the role listed up here, and I think this is a little bit different as well. And I haven't used it for that long, so I'm not sure what it's going to be like, but I'm also trying replies, because what I want is I'm trying to use my announcements this term as more of an interactive tool. Here's something new I just found. It's a cool global radio station browser. Try it out. And I'm really hoping, no one's replied yet, but people will reply, and we can get a discussion going on the announcements that almost parallels what you see in the discussion board. So when you click on the discussion board, you're going to see with the beta version here enabled, it also looks a little bit different. When you click on it, it has a different appearance to it. And what I like about it is the reply button at the top to do a brand new post is bolded. And I'm always struggling with my students, and this is going to help me immensely, because now I can say, hey, if you liked this student's post, and I just recalled I'll be blurring some of this out, so in post you're going to be seeing blurring. But like if someone liked my post here, they could hit reply right under my post, and you could see this pops up. It's a brand new way of interacting with discussions. And I personally think it's great. So I'm going to try it out over the first few weeks and see if it works better, because I've struggled with how the discussion tool is laid out, particularly in the old tool, this is not bolded and it's not really distinct what to do if you're a student and you want to do a new reply versus a reply threaded under a previous discussion. So anyway, I think this is pretty cool because it could be a great enhancement for your class. I think it's a little easier to work with visually. So if you want information about that, let me know. But as I said, really easy to click on your settings, feature previews tab, and click on the beta here and make sure it's green. And if it is, that will be enabled. But one of the things I think could be cool in your face-to-face class as we're talking about the enhanced version of things is you could maybe like for students who miss a class, require them as a makeup to go to a discussion board. So you could set up some discussions as a way of doing extra credit or a makeup for students who are absent, and you want to allow them to make up some of their points in the class. And again, what I'm showing you here is a DE class that will have optional Zooms. This is not face-to-face. So in a face-to-face class that is your basic class or enhanced, very unlikely you're going to have it look like a full-fledged DE class like this one. I mean, this is a huge built-out class, and it's unlikely that you're going to have that level of detail. Like what Solange is talking about for the fall class or for the spring class would probably be, mostly the face-to-face interactive stuff you're doing in the classroom, and then you're going to add in these elements as you need them. Either, I would say, to save class time, to save on unnecessary passing out of paper, or to deliberately have them interact with something that you can't demo in class. There are certain interactive websites, like that one I showed you, the Chrome Music Lab, the various little mini apps here, the fun apps. Sometimes in a classroom, you want the students to actually click on stuff, hands-on kind of things. And if that's the case, oh, that's pretty cute. These kind of look like for kids, but they're kind of fun anyway. So I kind of like that. That's fun anyway. So that's something that you're clicking on it, and you want your student to do it hands-on. Or if Solange is teaching audio production, she wants students to go home and actually work on things individually, one-on-one, to actually work with the software. That would make really good sense then to go in and add those interactive elements to your class and maybe assign points for that and so forth. So I'll be interested to see what you come up with. So do you have a sense now? Are you thinking already what you'll include in your Canvas for that enhanced class?
YouTube mainly.
Yep.
All my YouTube and well, I want to say discussions that would be done at home, and but their final is going to be recorded sound effects, and they're going to tell a story with sound effects, dialogue, and music. So they have to record everything themselves, and then in Audacity will do all the sound posts to create their final. But we're also creating a post-production audio class. That'll be a new class that's different. That'll probably be next year. But this year is production audio, which is recording, microphones, patching, digital, stuff like that. So yeah, it'll probably be more YouTube and discussions at home. And then the live class will be the actual recording techniques and microphones.
Oh, you know what? I just discovered I'm including it. I'll give you the link. I'm including it in my class this quarter. Some guy created this. It's called Bespoke, and it is pretty amazing. It's a new, let me put it in chat. It's totally free. It's open source. It's basically a digital audio workstation for free. It's as you can see, the free version. You can also do the pro, but I mean, I downloaded the free. It's really great. It's available for Mac, Windows, and Linux. But it's pretty amazing. It does everything, and it almost kind of replicates in a digital format, modular synthesis, because you set up your various patch points. These could be, filters, effects, sound, generative sound production devices. Anyway, your students might be interested in this, and it's 100% free. So if you're doing anything, like it'll do, in fact, there might even be a sound effects engine on it. I didn't dive in, but it's pretty full-fledged, so that could be cool too.
And now, how did you find it?
The way I find this stuff, every day, because I'm a gear junkie, every day I read Gear News, and Gear News has all the new stuff, and it's always bad for my pocketbook because then I discover a new thing and I don't want to buy it. But it was on here. They announced it last week, and there's a big synth festival taking place right now in Berlin, and I don't know if it was announced there, but yeah, Gear News has all the new equipment, and it appeared here, and they said, oh, it's 100% free, and I said, oh, that's going to be amazing for my class, because for my sound and music class, they're doing final projects, and I thought if any students are musically inclined or sonically inclined, they could maybe, it's right here, they could use this bespoke synth and do an experiment. And this kind of shows you what it looks like. I mean, it's really full-fledged. And some guy created this. I don't get it. I mean, it's like people have so much time to create these amazing tools, and 100% free. So, yeah.
Not for long.
Well, right. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. That's what they do, is sometimes they get you used to the software. And actually, you mentioned Audacity. I'm telling my students about using it too. There was a rumor for a while that I think Audacity was bought out, and people were worried that it was going to be no longer open source and free. But so far it is, and it's great because every person I know, I mean, so many people I know use Audacity because it's so easy. I use it daily if I'm just doing a gain adjustment on my audio. I pop in Audacity because it's so easy. It's just quicker to load up than Final Cut or Logic or something to do, audio adjustments. But it's just kind of amazing with the free stuff out there now. I mean, we have free textbooks for students, and now we're getting to a point where we have free software. If you're doing Photoshop and students, you don't want to have students buy Photoshop, they can download GIMP, which is a full-fledged version, open source version of Photoshop. So it's just really cool. One other thing, Solange, you were saying about discussions I thought was interesting is if you're doing your enhanced face-to-face class, I mentioned earlier, you'll have in-person discussions among your students because that's how a face-to-face class works. But what occurred to me is you could do discussions, like I said earlier, for extra credit for students who missed, but maybe you just set an optional discussion up. Let's say you have this great class where they're working on doing Foley work in your class in the spring. It's week 2, and the students get home and they're like, oh, I didn't quite get, we were talking about something. Did someone catch that? So you could use an optional discussion that, of course, you would have to check as the instructor, but if students have, inspirations that they think of after your class is over and they're home and you're home, why not have an optional discussion, just for questions? You could even call it, what you can do is go into Canvas and it could just be one big discussion, or if you want to start using announcements because of this new tool, you could use it more as a discussion tool. So you could, for example, say week 1, if you have any questions, simply hit reply. And then all the replies will appear on this announcement once students go in and hit the reply. Again, this is the announcements tool. And I've never used it this way. I'm rethinking announcements because I feel like it's the one tool in Canvas that I misuse or I don't use properly, or I don't use, I should say, to its full potential. And I'm thinking with this new beta that they have here with the replies, it could be more of a, I don't know, like an interactive discussion board, but a mini version of that. So you could use that, or you could go to your module structure and set up an optional Q&A. So if I have my typical week 1 discussion, what I could do is I could call it something like, oh, I don't know, classroom Q&A. So if students go home and they have questions about something you did in the face-to-face class, they could hit reply here, and you can decide whether it's graded or not. You don't have to grade discussions in Canvas. When you set up a brand new discussion, keep in mind, you always have that option to grade it or not. So actually an ungraded discussion would be fine in this case. If I don't click graded on here, then there won't be any points attached. The minute I click graded, then I have due dates and I have to think about how many points. If it's a non-graded discussion board, you will only get available from and until. So if you want it for the full term of the class, you would just go in whenever the class began on the 20th and it ends on, what are we looking at, December 17th or something as finals. Once you set that up, that could be your Q&A discussion board for the whole class for the entire quarter. So I like your idea of maybe having those out-of-class discussions to supplement what students are talking about in class, because for the subject that you're teaching, it occurred to me that there's a lot of fine technical details working with software, doing audio production that people will have questions about. They forgot to ask something, so maybe outside of class, you can answer those on the board here, versus waiting. If your class meets once or twice a week, you have to wait 2 or maybe even 7 days until the next class meeting. Students might forget, and that question might be really important for them to understand something or complete a project in the class. So it might be a really good idea there. Go ahead.
In the beta, the replies, just like in discussions, do they see that in announcements as well? All the students get to see their replies.
They should. Let me try that out in my class here. Let's just see how that works. I will go to, let me go to student view. Again, this beta is brand new for me, so I haven't even tried it. Oh yeah, they'll see it. So if I leave student view, let's type in another test. Unfortunately, it shows when it was deleted, but it should show it on there. And let me show you one setting I think you have to set up. Yep, it'll show it on there. So let's leave student view, and I will just delete that because my students will wonder why is that showing up. But let me show you one quick setting on this, and I think it's I think it is the same on the old version. Again, graphically, this looks different. When you create a new announcement, and we're using the beta here, if you type your title and your interesting, I thought it was going to say allow reply. I'll delete this in a second. It's probably going to confuse my students though, because they'll see this live. Let's see. No, okay, so it automatically appears. Okay, so I think that's different. I think under the old version of announcements, you had to choose the reply. Is that true? Do you remember? On your announcements, I can't recall.
I have no recollection of ever replying. So this is new. To reply your announcements, I didn't know that.
I think that's maybe one of the new features. Let me go to my shell. Let's see, because at first I thought this was on your settings, but it's case by case. So I'll show you here. This is my test shell and feature previews. And okay, it's not enabled. So because it's X'd out and red, it's not enabled. So let's try it using the old version. This is a test class, and let's see if we have the reply option, because I think you might be right that I don't remember replies on announcements either, but maybe I'm forgetting that. Let's try it and see. No, it is showing a reply. Okay. That's weird. I don't know. Now I'm wondering if there is another setting. Yeah, it's allowing the reply. Is there another setting inside of Canvas that allows that? I'm totally spacing it. For some reason I thought there was something on my account that maybe I set up to allow that, but now I'm not remembering.
I don't recall having the option to reply on my announcements.
Yeah. Let's see, future settings, underline links, close captions, semicolon, spreadsheets. Well, I might have to look that up, because now I'm just, I'm not recalling that either, and I don't know why. On announcements, yeah. I mean, I get global announcements.
My question with announcements is, I have week 1 announcements.
Yeah.
In week 2, I want my week 2 announcements to show up, and I want my week 1 announcements to go away. Well, how do you make them go away? Because there is no hide option. There's no, I think it's only, I think the only way is delete, and I don't want to delete these announcements.
Yeah, I don't think, I remember we tried that. So this is my live class here, and this is exactly what you're getting at. So we have 3. If you just wanted to show 2, like if I want this one to go away and I don't want to delete it, I'm trying to remember last time we did this under, it's under settings. So to do this, go to settings, then course details, scroll to the bottom. You have to click more options on this. And then this is where you decide how many announcements you have on there. So unfortunately, the only way to do it, like if I do 2 and let's update, then that third one should go away. Let's try that. This probably would work. Yeah, just 2 show up now. So the only way to do that is click on settings, click on scroll course details, which is default, the first tab, click on more options, and then you have to choose down here how many you want to show. So you could have 15 show, which would be a lot. You could do 1 or 2. You know, in my case, I think I'm going to leave it as 2. It's very tricky because what happens is I have a lot of front end announcements at the very beginning of the class. If you click on my announcements tab, you could see here, these are in ascending or descending. So these are the ones going out. So I'm reminding them of specific things. They have to do a survey, my welcome announcement, click on my lecture and my deadlines. So in the first week of the class, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 announcements. When we get to week 2, this will change. I'll add some new ones. These are the preset ones. You could see I currently have only like 1 per week, and it'll probably be 2 or 3 in all honesty. So the concern for my class is early on in the first week, there's a ton of stuff they're going to get. And like you, I worry about cluttering my homepage. So what do you have yours set at? Do you have it set at 3 or 2 on your settings?
Well, I have announcements that I want to show all quarter saying, these are my office hours. These are my, assignments are due
okay,
Mondays,
yeah.
8 a.m., that I want to show all quarter. And well, you can't do that in announcements. And
Yeah,
I don't know where else to put that information in. Go ahead.
You know what I would do? I would create a little, we can try this right now. I would create a little module. Now, the cool thing is students at any time, as long as you have it enabled in your class, they can view the announcements, but will they click on them and look at all the old ones? Probably not. So maybe you should create an announcements module and then go in there, and all you need to do is create a new page, and then we can call it the same thing or call it announce, and then add the item. And once you do this, I'm not going to publish it because I don't know that I will do this, but I might. You'll just go in and edit, and at this point, you could say something like, please read. You could do this by week or the whole quarter. You'll go to the link tool, and you'll click on your course links. And this is cool because then you can customize it. You could say, I want specifically everybody to read, let's say, week 1 lecture. And then all I do is I hit save on that. And then when the student views that, we'll do it on student view. It'll take them directly. Oh, it's not unlocked. Darn it. Okay. Let me leave student view and unlock that. I don't have the main module published. So we'll publish that real quick. I don't want to confuse my students. So now if I go to student view, we'll click on that item and then we'll go to student view. They'll be able to directly click on that announcement. So it's not going to take them to week 1 lecture. It'll take them to my announcement week 1 lecture. And there it is. Oh, interesting. This announcement is closed for comments. Huh. So that's what you were talking about, It's not allowing the reply on there.
Right. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, I'm wondering, now if anyone's watching this video, I want to click on that now because now I'm really curious. Yeah. No, that's my lecture. I want my announcement. Getting confused here. Week 1 lecture announcement. You know what? Okay, I know what's going on. Watch this. Student view. Yep, so that gets kind of confusing, right? I was thinking that whole time it allowed a reply. It only allowed a reply because I'm the instructor. So that's kind of the key on that, right? Is it allowed it only because I'm the instructor. Now I want to make sure, bear with me 1 second. That's what I want to see. I want to go back and look at that because I didn't check it in student view because I really want students to be able to reply to these announcements. So I think maybe that was only because I was in non-student view. Let's go to student view and see if it shows up. Can they reply? Darn it, they can't. Huh. Okay. See, I really want to use it as a quasi-discussion tool. So I wonder if I go to edit, if I enable it as a podcast. What about podcast feed? Oh, okay, yep, include student replies and podcast feed. Let's try it now. So I think I gave you the wrong info. So you enable it as a podcast feed, but no, it's still not allowing. Or is it up here if I reply? Huh, interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to problem solve that because what I really want to do is to have the students reply on the announcements itself. So I'm a little baffled as to why that's not working. Because this reply button is me.
Want to, you can create a module called announcements.
Yeah.
And they can reply to the module, but they have to know to click on that. That's the problem. It isn't set up for you to automatically get it. You have to actually go to it, and that's
you have to go to it. Yeah. So what?
will they go?
Yeah, I don't know. For what you're trying to do, I would say again, if I go back to my cultural class, which has more announcements, I would say, yeah, you really have 2 options there, right? Like you can control the feed based on, again, the settings tab and clicking on course details and more to control how many appear. You can tell students click on the announcements tab because I want you to look at these, but will they actually click on them? I don't know. The third option is create that test module like we did here, and then link to any of the announcements using the internal class links. I'm just going to disable that. But it's not as good as maybe what you're trying to do, which is to customize. No, wait, there is a way to do that. So it would be by constraining the dates of the announcements, right? Or will it? I'm trying to remember now if it'll allow me to do that. If I hit edit on this, let's see. I can do delay posting. No, but I can't tell it to go away at a certain time and then stay in the announcements. So it's not really like a discussion board where you can close it. Yeah.
We need to contact Canvas about that. Announcements you should be able to hide your announcements. You shouldn't have to delete them. Yeah. So let's get on it. Let's call them.
They do have we could go to the Canvas community and suggest some of that. But I'm wondering in this new announcements beta, if there's anything like that. I'm just going to see if new Canvas announcements beta, if they're doing anything like that. These are the release notes. So this is the new one 7 days ago. Let's see. They just have so much going on. Course level features, feature policy, reply sidebar. There's so much going on in this. Doesn't exactly have what I was looking for. I thought it was going to talk about the new beta here. It's not there. It's under the discussions announcement redesign, but it's not exactly telling me. Oh, here's the instructor guide. Okay, it might be under here. Wow. Okay, how do I use instructor announcements redesign? How do I reply to announcement as an instructor? I want students to be able to reply. This could have some of that. Let's see. I really want my students to reply, and that's only showing how the instructor replies, which currently can do. As instructor, yeah. Announcements index page. Oh, interesting. Oh, global settings. I wonder if some of this... Add a new announcement. Add external feed. Manage announcements. Could that have it? Oh, look. There's a lock button. Aha. Let me... I'll put this in the chat because I'm wondering with that beta, because maybe the lock button, so you click on the index page and then global settings. I'm wondering if the lock button is what you're talking about. We can try that. Let's see. I'll go to my global announcements, and then they were working up here. So I would click on this to select it, and then where was that global tool? Do I have to select more than one? I'm just doing this on the fly, but it looked like somewhere they're able to set a global tool. Manage announcements. Clicked on that. Apply bulk action. Click the lock button. Maybe if we just click on the right-hand side of this. Does it have a lock button? No. Weird. I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong place. Sorry, I don't have the full, again, the beta is not, I haven't done a lot of work with it, but this gives me options, send to, mark as read. I'm just curious about this lock button, because it sounds like the lock button is what you're getting at. So maybe we can check that out some more, investigate it.
Well, that's what the teaching talks are all about. That's what we do.
For sure.
We figure this stuff out.
Figure it out.
Why we're here.
But I want to figure out this reply because I want students in this class currently in both classes to be able to reply to the announcements. And I thought that was a possibility, but it doesn't look like I have it set up correctly. So, yeah. have to see. Anyway, okay. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we didn't cover today, or again, I'm hoping we can get this working for our face-to-face classes here early in the fall, and really hope that we don't have any quarantines, but you never know, right? Yesterday there was a power outage with one of our servers, and I thought we were going to lose Canvas, but we got by, and it didn't affect anything. I was on campus yesterday. Nothing got shut down, so I feel good about that, that we didn't have a third crisis hitting us, along with COVID and the forest fires. So, yeah. So I guess we'll stop the share here, and I'll get the info out. I'm trying to look at what we'll cover next time, but I'll as usual get the info out about the next teaching talk, and maybe base it on a current need like this one that people are really interested in covering. So, yeah.